The American League playoffs start tonight. That rating, again, last night, once again, the baseball one-game playoff ratings, both for the Yankees-Astros and for the Cubs-Pirates, were very, very strong. Why is that? Because baseball's had, it should be noted, sort of an erosion of ratings. Here's my belief what's happening. On a macro level, this happens all the time where there are unintended beneficiaries of something. I'll give you an example. Uber. So when Uber was created, it's like a modern day taxi industry. It's not been good for taxis. Nobody realized, however, that it has cut down significantly on DUIs in the country. In Los Angeles in 2011, 2012, DUIs were increasing. Since then, Uber has moved into the Los Angeles market, and last year they were down 14%. That's a swing of 20-some percent. Nobody, when they created Uber, and Ashton Kutcher or whoever created Uber, I know he's one of the investors, they were thinking about profits and disrupting the taxi industry. They probably weren't thinking we're going to take a lot of drunks off the road. That's what's happened, and municipalities now see that. The DUIs are going down 10, 15% all around the country in major cities because of Uber. It's an unintended benefit. You see a little bit of this in football where the NFL rule changes are to protect quarterbacks and wide receivers. The unintended benefit is the concussions are down for defensive players too. They're not able to create these collisions with wide receivers over the middle, so their concussion rate is going down. We tend to think of fantasy sports as directly connected to football because more people play fantasy football than fantasy baseball. But football doesn't need fantasy to be healthy. The football television deals are healthy. The ratings have been healthy for 4 or 5 decades. Fantasy sports is played mostly by young people 18 to 35 years old. That's what baseball has been losing for 2 decades. Because the baseball pace is slower than the football pace, the NBA pace, the hockey pace, and the soccer pace. Baseball can be 3.5 hours. There's not a ton of activity. Last night's a prime example. Pirates are just trying to scrap out singles. But young people play fantasy. And so we think fantasy sports is all about football, and more people do play fantasy football. But if you look at the millennial ratings for baseball in the last year and a half, they've spiked up. Why? Did they suddenly like baseball? No. They're suddenly playing fantasy sports. And we know, according to a story I'm reading here last year from the NBA, a statistic that puts dollar signs in the heads of league commissioners, fans consume 40% more sports content across all media once they start playing either FanDuel or DraftKings. Think about that. Once you start playing, 40% more interest in content. So when I look at these baseball ratings, a couple years ago, you're going to get a 2.4, a 2.6, a 3. You're now getting mid-5s. That's a healthy college football Saturday rating. That, to me, is directly connected to fantasy sports. And we're seeing it to the NFL as well, but I think it's doubling some of these baseball ratings, if not adding 40, 50% to some of these baseball ratings. And what it's really doing, it's bringing in young people to baseball.